Movement is not always a choice. In some places, stillness is a sentence. Across open land where cover is scarce and distance offers no refuge. Survival belongs to those who remain in motion. Here, danger does not announce itself. It waits. It follows. It closes in when movement slows. The ground is wide. The sky is empty, and every pause becomes visible. In this world, efficiency is not protection. Speed is not dominance. What matters is endurance. The ability to keep going when the body demands rest. When the terrain offers nothing in return, when every step forward carries the risk of exposure. This story unfolds in a landscape where stopping means being found, and being found means being erased. It is governed by a simple law: some lives persist only as long as they continue to move. The African savanna is often described as open and abundant. In reality, it is fragmented, divided by distance, drought, and invisible borders drawn by stronger occupants. Grasslands stretch for kilometers, with little interruption, broken only by scattered shrubs, shallow riverbeds, and the occasional rise in terrain. Shade is limited. Cover is rare. Any movement across this land is easily detected. Seasonal shifts dictate the rhythm of life here. During the wet months, prey disperses, water spreads thinly across the plains, and predators are forced to travel farther to feed. In the dry season, resources collapse inward. Rivers shrink, grazers cluster, competition intensifies. Survival becomes less about finding food and more about reaching it before others do. Large predators dominate fixed territories. Lions control key junctions, water sources, migration routes, shaded ground. Hyenas patrol wide areas with numerical advantage. These species can afford periods of rest because their presence alone discourages intrusion. The landscape bends around them. For smaller, less dominant hunters, the rules are different. The open plains offer no refuge from confrontation. Remaining in one place increases the risk of detection. Lingering invites challenge. Every stationary moment becomes a vulnerability that can be exploited by stronger rivals. Energy is constantly exchanged for safety. Distance replaces shelter. Movement replaces defense. In this environment, survival favors those who understand a critical reality: staying alive is not about holding ground. It is about never being where danger expects you to be. African wild dogs enter this landscape without the protection of size or solitary strength. Their bodies are built for distance rather than power. Lean frames, long legs, narrow chests designed to regulate heat while moving at speed. Their coats, irregularly patterned, offer no camouflage in open ground. Visibility is unavoidable. They survive as a unit. Each individual depends on the others to function, hunt, and evade pressure. The group moves together, rests briefly together, and feeds in coordination. Cooperation increases efficiency, but it also creates dependency. A single weakness affects the whole. Biologically, they are among the most effective hunters on the continent. Their success does not come from ambush or brute force, but from persistence. They do not overpower prey immediately. They exhaust it. Their advantage lies in stamina, the ability to maintain pursuit when others are forced to stop. Yet this efficiency does not grant security. African wild dogs lack territorial dominance. They cannot defend ground against larger predators. They cannot remain near kills without risk. Their victories are brief, and the cost of remaining in place often outweighs the benefit of feeding longer. Every hunt exposes them. Every pause invites attention. Their survival strategy depends on constant relocation, moving before competitors arrive, leaving before conflict becomes unavoidable. The same adaptation that makes them lethal hunters also prevents them from settling. In this ecosystem, their role is clear and unstable. They are specialists in motion, bound to a lifestyle where stopping carries consequences their biology cannot absorb. To endure here, they must keep moving not because it is efficient, but because it is necessary. At first, movement appears controlled. The pack advances across the plains in a loose formation, bodies spaced just far enough to avoid collision, close enough to maintain cohesion. Their pace is steady, unhurried. This is not a chase. It is transit, the necessary motion between moments of survival. Heads remain low, ears constantly shifting, scanning for sound rather than sight. The ground ahead offers little variation. The horizon changes slowly. Rest comes in fragments. When it happens, it is brief and exposed. The pack settles where it stands, often in shallow depressions or sparse grass that provides minimal relief from the sun. No individual lies down fully for long. Muscles remain partially engaged. Eyes stay open. The pause is measured in minutes, not hours. Feeding follows the same pattern. When a hunt succeeds, consumption is rapid. There is no lingering over a kill, no extended guarding. Each animal takes what it can while scanning the surroundings. The pack remains alert, even while eating, aware that their presence will not go unnoticed for long. Larger predators track opportunity efficiently. Time spent in one place increases the likelihood of confrontation. Care within the group is functional rather than sentimental. Injured individuals are not abandoned immediately, but they are not accommodated either. The pace adjusts only slightly, just enough to keep cohesion intact. The system tolerates minor weakness, but only temporarily. The margin for error is narrow. This rhythm repeats day after day. Travel, brief rest, sudden exertion, rapid feeding, immediate departure. It is a cycle built on balance, sustained only as long as conditions remain predictable. For now, the system holds. The pack moves with purpose, conserving energy where possible, relying on familiarity with the land and each other. But even within this apparent normalcy, strain accumulates. Distance compounds fatigue. Heat lingers longer each day. The intervals between successful hunts lengthen. Nothing has gone wrong yet, but the stability is fragile, dependent on conditions that are already beginning to shift. The change does not arrive suddenly. It unfolds gradually, almost imperceptibly, carried by distance rather than force. Water sources grow farther apart. Shallow pans that once held moisture now dry within hours of sunrise. The grass thins unevenly, forcing prey to spread out in smaller, more cautious groups. What was once a predictable landscape begins to fragment, and with it the efficiency of movement that the pack depends on. Journeys lengthen. The distance between rest points increases not by choice, but by necessity. Each hunt now requires more ground to be covered before it can begin. The pack adjusts instinctively, stretching their daily range, sacrificing recovery for reach. Muscles warm and cool too frequently. Fatigue no longer fades completely during short pauses. Heat becomes an active pressure. Midday temperatures linger longer into the afternoon, reducing the margin for sustained pursuit. The dogs alter their timing, moving earlier, resting later, compressing recovery into narrower windows. Even these adaptations offer diminishing returns. The environment resists accommodation. Prey behavior shifts as well. Grazers move more erratically, responding to pressure from multiple predators, competing for shrinking resources. Hunts that once ended quickly now extend across open ground, forcing the pack to commit more energy before success is certain. Failed pursuits become more frequent. Each one costs time, hydration, and strength that cannot be replaced immediately. The group begins to spread thinner during movement. Spacing increases as individuals regulate their own pace, compensating for exhaustion. Cohesion still exists, but it requires effort to maintain. Subtle delays emerge, a half-second slower response, a wider arc taken around uneven ground. These differences are small, but they accumulate. No single moment marks the shift from balance to strain. There is no clear warning. Pressure builds quietly, measured in longer distances, shorter rests, and the growing need to move even when recovery has not occurred. The pack continues forward because stopping offers no alternative. Here endurance is tested not by confrontation, but by duration. The landscape does not attack. It simply refuses to yield. The first indications of danger are indirect. Scents linger longer on the ground. Tracks overlap where they once did not. The pack moves through areas recently occupied by others, reading the signs without slowing. Lions have passed through. Hyenas are nearby. These signals do not trigger confrontation, they trigger adjustment. Routes shift subtly. Travel angles change. The pack avoids intersections where encounters are most likely. Avoidance requires distance. Distance requires energy. As movement continues, the margin for reaction narrows. A sudden sound carries farther in open space. A silhouette on the horizon becomes recognizable more quickly. There is less time to reroute, less room to disperse without fragmenting the group. The pack remains mobile, but flexibility diminishes with each kilometer traveled. Encounters begin as brief alignments rather than clashes. A hyena clan appears at a distance, observing rather than engaging. The wild dogs do not challenge. They veer away immediately, accelerating into open ground. The response is automatic, no hesitation, no assessment of odds. Engagement is not an option worth considering. Later, a lioness crosses their path at an oblique angle. She does not pursue, but her presence alters movement for hours. The pack maintains speed longer than necessary, prioritizing separation over recovery. The cost is cumulative. Muscles stiffen. Breathing becomes more pronounced. The terrain offers no concealment for slowing down. Within the group, strain becomes visible. One individual begins to lag slightly during extended travel. The delay is minimal, measured in seconds, but it forces others to compensate. Formation tightens, then stretches again. The pack adjusts without stopping, preserving forward momentum at the expense of efficiency. A hunt ends abruptly when scavengers arrive early. Feeding is cut short. Departure is immediate. The loss is not dramatic, but it is consequential. Calories left behind cannot be recovered. Time spent fleeing replaces time spent replenishing. These moments do not yet threaten collapse. Survival continues. Movement continues. But the pattern has shifted. Danger is no longer an external possibility. It is now a constant factor shaping every decision, compressing time, reducing options, and making each pause more costly than the last. Pressure no longer arrives as isolated moments. It becomes continuous. The pack's movements lose their earlier economy. Detours multiply as familiar paths grow unsafe. Areas once crossed quickly now demand caution, forcing wider arcs through exposed ground. Each adjustment extends the distance traveled. Each extension compounds fatigue. Recovery never fully occurs. Hunts fail more often. Prey breaks formation earlier, responding to distant cues that once went unnoticed. Chases stretch longer across uneven terrain, draining energy before contact is made. When a pursuit collapses, the pack does not slow to regroup. It keeps moving, driven forward by the same necessity that initiated the chase. There is no pause to reset. Encounters repeat. Hyenas shadow from afar, closing the gap whenever speed drops. The dogs accelerate again, not to escape permanently, but to widen distance long enough to avoid engagement. This pattern cycles repeatedly, approach avoidance flight. Each cycle extracts energy without returning nourishment. Injuries accumulate subtly. A misstep on hard ground produces a limp that fades, then reappears. A shallow bite received during a brief scuffle leaves stiffness rather than visible damage. These impairments are not immediately disabling, but they alter pacing. The pack compensates instinctively, adjusting formation, redistributing effort. Efficiency declines further. Group cohesion strains under repetition. Individuals space themselves according to personal limits, no longer perfectly synchronized. The pack still functions, but its margin for adaptation narrows. Coordination requires constant correction. Any disruption now carries amplified consequence. Rest becomes increasingly risky. Pauses shorten further. The pack remains alert even while stationary scanning continuously prepared to move without warning. The ground offers no concealment, no barrier to pursuit. Even stillness feels temporary, conditional. Survival continues, but certainty does not. Every movement is reactive. Every decision favors avoidance over optimization. The system no longer seeks advantage, it seeks delay. Delay of confrontation, delay of exhaustion, delay of loss. The pressure does not break the pack immediately. It wears it down, gradually eroding the flexibility that once made movement effective. What remains is persistence without relief, forward motion sustained not by strength, but by the absence of alternatives. The decision is not debated. It is forced by absence. Ahead lies a stretch of land. The pack rarely uses open, exposed, threaded by the scent of dominant predators. To the sides, familiar routes have collapsed under pressure. Behind them, distance has already been consumed. Remaining where they are is not an option. The only viable direction is forward. Movement resumes at a pace that leaves no margin for recovery. The pack commits to a longer transit than any before it crossing ground that offers neither shade nor diversion. The sun holds its position longer than expected. Heat settles into muscle and breath. Hydration becomes a calculation rather than a certainty. Spacing tightens as fatigue peaks. Individuals that once carried the front now rotate backward more frequently. The formation reshuffles without stopping, a silent negotiation between endurance and collapse. One animal falls a step behind, then recovers, then falls again. The pattern repeats. No one slows to accommodate for long. A brief opportunity to hunt appears, a small group of prey moving at the edge of visibility. The pack engages not because conditions are favorable, but because they cannot afford to pass. The pursuit begins unevenly. Acceleration is delayed. Coordination is imperfect. The chase extends farther than intended and ends without a capture. The cost is immediate. Energy spent cannot be reclaimed. The pack does not rest to assess. It moves on, drawn deeper into unfamiliar territory where escape routes are fewer and encounters more likely. The landscape narrows choices into a single direction. At this point, retreat would demand more energy than advance. Rest would invite detection. Waiting would compound exposure. The system has crossed its threshold. What remains is continuation, not as strategy, but as obligation. From here, outcomes are no longer adjustable. The next major encounter will not allow avoidance. The next exertion will not be optional. The pack moves forward, knowing only this stopping now would end the story sooner. The confrontation arrives without warning. A rival presence emerges ahead. Not sudden, not dramatic, but unavoidable. The scent is fresh. The distance between detection and contact is too short for rerouting. The pack responds instantly, accelerating into a formation, shaped by exhaustion rather than design. There is no space left for calculation. The chase begins unevenly. The lead animals push forward, drawing on reserves already depleted. Those behind struggle to match pace. The ground offers little forgiveness. Hard soil jars joints. Sparse vegetation provides no shelter, no break in visibility. Every movement is exposed. Prey breaks early, scattering in multiple directions. The pack commits to one path, but coordination fractures under strain. The pursuit stretches longer than the pack can sustain. Breathing grows shallow and rapid. Limbs move on momentum rather than strength. One individual falters, losing ground irreversibly. The chase ends without a capture. Almost immediately, pressure shifts. Another presence closes in, drawn by motion, noise, and vulnerability. Larger bodies appear at a distance, confident, unhurried. The pack does not challenge. It turns and runs again, abandoning any remaining advantage of organization. Survival narrows to speed. Flight replaces strategy. Movement becomes singular escape. The weakest animal cannot maintain pace. Its stride shortens, gaps widen. The pack does not stop. It cannot. Separation becomes permanent within seconds. What follows is brief and decisive. There is no prolonged struggle. The loss is swift, dictated by proximity and power rather than intent. The remaining dogs increase distance without looking back. Their formation reforms imperfectly as they move on. There is no pause to acknowledge what has been left behind. In this environment, hesitation carries equal risk. When the pack finally slows, it is not because safety has been achieved, but because energy has reached its limit. They rest briefly, standing, scanning, ready to move again at the first sign of approach. The group is smaller now. Efficiency has been reduced. Endurance has been tested and reshaped. Survival has been secured but not preserved intact. The outcome reflects the rule governing this landscape. Continuation is possible, but it is never without cost. What remains is not victory, it is persistence. The landscape does not register loss. Wind moves through the grass as it did before. Heat settles into the ground without variation. Other animals cross the same paths, unaware of what has occurred. The absence of one body leaves no lasting mark on the terrain. The remaining wild dogs resume movement as conditions allow. Their spacing is altered. Their pace is marginally slower. Roles within the group shift without ceremony. Adaptation continues because it must. Survival does not pause to acknowledge what has been removed. Their presence in this ecosystem remains temporary. They will not hold ground. They will not establish permanence. The pressure that shaped this outcome persists beyond the moment, ensuring that movement remains compulsory. In this system, efficiency creates opportunity, not safety. Cooperation extends endurance, not immunity. The same traits that allow survival also guarantee exposure. Continuation depends on accepting both. The law governing these animals is not written in dominance or conquest. It is written in distance, covered energy spent, and the refusal of the environment to offer reprieve. Here, survival belongs not to those who stop, but to those who endure motion long enough to move beyond the next threat.